Hi, everybody, and welcome to the Bison Media Zone. We do it each and every Wednesday at 10:35. Our new roundtable edition. Literally, we have a round table.
It's a round table.
You always said it, right?
I kind of got the Ricky Bobby thing going on here. I don't know what to do with my hands. What?
By the way, I know it's the Bison Media Zone, but we gave your friends at Missouri State a shout out because we got midweek football, and Mo State is playing tonight with Middle Tennessee State, who lost, by the way, to Austin Peay earlier this season.
I am really happy for Missouri State, and I am happy that they got to FBS. Congratulations, former President Cliff Smart.
Yeah, I know.
And thanks for championing Murray State in the Missouri Valley Football Conference as well. That has really worked out well.
It's worked out for everybody there. We got a heck of a football game, I think, on tap here Saturday at the Fargo Dome. As Scotty Miller would say, a whale of a game we got coming up on Saturday with SIU coming to town. We'll get to the Salukis here in a minute, but Tim Polasek told you on last weekend that thought we get a four-quarter game out of the game at Illinois State. Prove that. What do we take away out of how the Bison played Saturday?
I thought they played well. You know, there's been, when it comes to North Dakota State, everybody expects them to win by 5 touchdowns, and that's not going to happen in every game. No. And it was a difficult road game against a pretty good team. Illinois State was better than I thought they were going to be.
Yes, I was going to go there. Yep.
And they're well coached as always under Brock's back. They were ready to go. They had a good game plan against North Dakota State. And so it was a competitive game. But in the end, NDSU did what NDSU does, and they found a way to win the game actually fairly comfortably. And their defense kind of got shored up after that first drive of the third quarter for Illinois State. And I think they played well. And it's not a knock on NDSU that they only won by 17 points. And I don't think they came out sleepwalking. I think they played a good team. And they only had the ball for 19 plays in the first half. And that's a credit to Illinois State. It's okay to credit other teams. Other teams have good players too.
Yes.
Other teams have Division I athletes. Some of them could even play for North Dakota State.
Yeah.
They're that good.
Yep.
And so to see what happened on Saturday was like, okay, that's a good football game.
Yes.
You know, we can't gripe about the Murray States of the world and then turn around and the fans and the media can't go, oh, what's wrong with NDSU? They only won. It's like, no, it was a good game. It was fun.
It's okay to give some credit to Illinois State because they came out with their hair on fire. They played their best game, I thought, of the year.
By far.
I think the best game they played against the Bison probably in a long time as
probably
well.
Since that quarterfinal game.
That was 6 years ago now since they played that. But now it's on, as Bill Belichick would say, we're on to Southern Illinois. But before we do that.
How's he doing, by the way?
He's college football going well for him in North Carolina. Cole Payton's numbers here are crazy, astronomical, honestly, through the first 5 games of the season. Completion percentage near 75%. He's thrown for nearly 1,200 yards, 9 passing touchdowns, 3 rushing touchdowns. How do we evaluate where number 9 is so far?
And keep in mind with some of those yardages and things like he's only played 3 quarters in most of the games.
Yes.
You know, they're not keeping him in for the fourth quarter of a blowout, unlike some teams. And so he's the thing that stood out to me on Saturday against Illinois State was that Payton was not just getting loose under pressure. He was shedding defensive tackles and shedding linebackers who had a fairly good grip on him.
Or a good angle.
And then getting loose from them and then going for, 15 yards or 20 yards. The other thing that stood out was a play in the fourth quarter where it was third and I think it was 6 or 7 or 8 yards, and there was a 0 blitz coming, and Illinois State sold out because they knew, to their credit, that was the point of the game, that they either had to get it done or lose the game. And Cole Payton found Jackson Williams across the middle. He checked out of the original play, made the proper call, threw a perfect pass to Jackson Williams, who caught it and ran for 51 yards. Right. And that's where you go, okay, we wondered if he could throw, which was still a fair. We didn't say he couldn't. We were just wondering if he could. Again, let's make that distinction. But then you wonder, okay, so in a situation where you have to make a big play, and you're on the road, and the crowd's against you, and if you don't make this, hey, your team might be in trouble. He made the exact correct call and made the perfect throw, and that sort of sealed the game because NDSU scored a touchdown from there, and that was kind of the end of the game.
The throw he made of Bryce Lance, which should not be forgotten either. That was right on the money where it needed to be.
And that was another situation where Illinois State was tilting their coverage, as they say, to Bryce Lance the entire game. He had trouble getting loose. They recognized on that play that it was a one-on-one coverage, and they just sent him down the field. And Cole Payton made the perfect throw, and Bryce Lance made a catch that there's not a lot of players
Only Bryce Lance can make,
in
right?
FCS that can make that catch.
Now, let's talk running game here because Barika Penubi got the first 100-yard game for a running back that happened on Saturday night as well. It seemed like anything that they wanted to do with Barika, he was able to get, especially to the outside. Maybe not necessarily up the middle, but he got to the outside, Mike, and was really successful there. I was talking about this with Jeffrey on Monday about the Bison O-line shouldn't be ignored in that. But what do we make of how Barika was running on Saturday?
And I think Tim Polsek brought it up yesterday when he was asked about it, is that, he had talked all summer long and all last spring about, we might need to have a guy be the guy just because of depth reasons for one, but also, Barika's a senior and everybody's been kind of waiting for him to pop. It's his time, and he, I think, has embraced that role, and he's running well. I mean, he's good. He's broke some tackles on the long touchdown run, which, frankly, in the past you kind of saw Barika would go down for a running back, sort of, not easily, but maybe need to break more tackles and stay on his feet. He did that on the 42-yard touchdown runner on the left side, broke 2 tackles actually, and showed the speed to get outside and go. And so he's having a nice year. And again, it's a case, and Tim brought this up in the press conference yesterday, he's not playing the fourth quarter. Right. So he said, if you look at the stats, Barika has X number of yards rushing for the season, and it doesn't compare to some other backs, but he's only playing 3/4 of the time. This was the first game where he played the entire game because NSU did not have a 40-point lead.
Offensive line, how would you grade it with the 3 new guys?
It's hard for me to adjust to this new world because NDSU's offense is not what it was.
It is not.
And, I watched the Brock Spack press conference follow-up yesterday, and some of the Illinois State media were saying, well, NDSU they're not the A-gap power team that they once were. They're running outside, and did that surprise you? And Spack said, well, no, because, A, we're pretty good at stopping the run up the middle, but B, he goes, if you watch NDSU's games the last couple of years, they're doing a lot more outside zone.
Yes.
They're going, and they throw a lot more, and they're much
Definitely
more
that.
diversified. They're not just the team that's going to pound you into submission for 4 quarters like they used to be. And I was that guy that kind of liked that you'd see the other team's will. You could watch it in almost every game against competitive teams. Is they would just break their will.
Yep.
They're not like that anymore. They're much more mobile up front and
athletic up front too.
And they're able to go outside, and the offensive line is really good, is what I'm trying to say. It's just, I think, different what they're trying to do, and it's hard, I think, for a lot of people to adjust to that, including myself.
And myself as well, because he told me it doesn't matter how tall Griffin Empey is to play right tackle.
Yeah.
So let's chat about it. Southern Illinois, 4-1. They're ranked 8th in the country. Only loss was to Purdue, so there's no shame in that. Purdue's better. They weren't as bad as they were last season. Yep. How do we make of Nick Hill's team here? They have a non-Division I win.
Yep.
They routed SEMO, which, granted, SEMO's not very good this season. They routed Indiana State this past weekend. Where are we at with the Salukis?
I think it's, I expect the line to be about 2 touchdowns in favor of North Dakota State, which is not a huge line, especially at the Fargo
Not at home. Yep.
And so that kind of tells it, there's some respect out there for Southern Illinois and what they're doing. The quarterback is really good. If you've watched their games and watched some of the highlights, DJ Williams, 6'3", 215, 220. He can move. They run stuff with him that, he's a running quarterback.
Yes.
He's a dual threat.
Yep.
And it's not just scrambles. It's, they run quarterback power. They have plays designed for him, but they also have guys that can stretch the field. The receivers are not just, possession guys, or whatever you want to call them. They're guys that'll get down the field, and they'll throw deep on 2nd and 1. They'll throw deep on 3rd and 2. And Nick Hill is calling the plays, I guess, again, from what Tim Polsek said. And so it's interesting. They're pretty good. The question is going to be is can Southern Illinois' defense stop NDSU's offense? And that's going to be the question all year who can stop this offense? But can NDSU's defense stop Southern Illinois? It might be a shootout.
You got a shootout on hands? You think
maybe.
we're going to have here? You see Southern Illinois, the last number 1 ranked win. You were there, Carbondale, the weird spring year. I know.
I know. It counts in the record books.
Yes.
Good for Nick Hill. He got a contract extension out of it, I think, in
Did.
part.
Yep.
And it was a huge win for them.
Monster.
Good for him.
Yep.
But that wasn't a real season.
Yeah, and that was just a clunker of a game there. SIU won 39-13, but they've never won up here. That's the thing that's interesting. I mean, they brought some good. Nick Baker was up here twice, and the Salukis were not able to do this. DJ Williams, a different cat.
This kid's a different quarterback.
I was going to show here in a second.
All due respect to Nick Baker, he was a good quarterback,
big guy.
And this kid is huge.
Yeah.
And he's good. So we're gonna, I mean, could we see a 41-37
I was going to
game
ask
on
you that.
Saturday?
So we saw him a couple years ago, granted with a terrible team around him at Murray State, but he was still mobile, able to elude guys when this is not the Bison second and third teamers in the game. This was the starting Bison defense that he was able to get loose against a couple years ago. Granted, that was the 2023 Bison defense.
Yeah, I think he has a much better team around him.
No doubt.
Now, obviously, and he's 2 years more experienced than he was a couple of years ago. But I think this Bison defense is pretty good. I mean, at the end of the day, on Saturday, they gave up 14 points and 125 yards rushing. It seemed like they gave up 300 rushing yards and 40 points.
And couldn't get off the field.
They couldn't get off the field in the first half. Yeah. But they'll be stressed. It's not going to be a 12-10 game. It's going to be in the 20s or 30. If it's in the 20s, I like NDSU's chances.
Yes, correct.
If they can hold Southern Illinois to 21 points, I like their chances because, again, how is Southern Illinois going to stop NDSU? But I just don't think you want to fall behind by, 2 touchdowns and then Southern Illinois has everything open to them to do whatever they want. So it'll be fun. It'll be a fun ball game.
Email comes in to ask about us on this, that they gave up 322 rushing yards to Indiana State last week. That, to me, I know it was late in the game with some of that, but they had over 200 yards rushing early in the game. That's a red flag to me.
It is, and they've given up some yards to some of the other teams they've played as well. SEMO had some yards, and obviously Purdue had some yards in beating them. There's been an odd thing. Southern Illinois I don't think they've won the time of possession battle in any of their games, and I think that the other team, their opposition, has always run more plays than they have.
Yeah.
And it's weird. You don't often win a lot of games with that formula, but it might be because of the big plays. If you score in a 78-yard touchdown run, which DJ Williams has had, that means that's one play.
Correct.
Covering 78 yards. So it's hard to stack up time of possession and plays in that situation. But that would be a red flag that maybe their defensive line is not quite what it needs to be.
Or what it was.
Right. But we'll see. I mean, there's different ways to win football games, and one of them is to score more points than your opposition. And if that's what Southern Illinois has to do,
then they're going to do
that. That's what they have to do.
Vincent Davis, another guy, he had a 72-yard touchdown. There's a one-play drive that went for a big play and goes for a touchdown. We'll come back. We'll look at the other Valley games going around the country this weekend. Big one up in Grand Forks as well. We'll do that on the other side of the break. Bison Media Zone on WDAY Extra. Back right after this. Welcome back, everybody, here on the Bison Media Zone. You look at the slate of games for this weekend in the Missouri Valley Football Conference. All eyes will be on Fargo. The game in Grand Forks will also be intriguing. Youngstown State just outside of the national rankings, with UND finally winning a road game for the first time in 700 days, I believe what the stat was, after they beat Northern Iowa. We were joking about this off air. We could just say it on air. It's like 2 games and then the rest of the league, right?
It was the same thing last week, right? It was South Dakota State at Youngstown State and then NDSU at Illinois State were a couple of good games. It seems like every week is going to be 2 decent games and 3 just complete dog games.
Also rans.
Yeah.
South Dakota was in this stretch, and we talked about this when the Coyotes lost in Fargo. They had Murray State, they have Indiana State, and Northern Iowa. They have a chance to get to 5-3 in all likelihood, and then to see where they're at for the final 4 games of the season.
And we'll see. There seems to be some confidence in South Dakota that they're way better than they showed in Fargo, and I
trust your eyes.
Trust your eyes. I'll just keep. We said that after the South Dakota game because we saw the Lamar game, we saw the Northern Colorado game, and I was going, well, they can't be that bad, can they? And then we saw them in Fargo. Okay, they are. There's something not there, something missing. But I think at the 5th or 6th game of the season, you are who you are.
Right.
I don't know that you're going to change a lot of things, and so we'll see with South Dakota once they have to play SDSU, UND.
Yep.
I don't know if they get Illinois State or
They
Southern
have
Illinois.
Youngstown. They have them
Yep.
at the end, too.
Yep. And so we'll see where USD is. They are who they are.
South Dakota State was down 10 at halftime. They turned it on. Now, Youngstown got a late touchdown. What do we make of what the Jacks did last weekend, winning at Youngstown State?
It's a good road test,
Yeah.
and they passed it. It was curious. I think they fell behind 14 or 17 to nothing, 14 to nothing.
And then
I
was
believe.
17-7 at halftime.
Yeah, and so that's interesting.
Yep.
That's doesn't happen often to South Dakota State.
Not down double digits, it doesn't. No.
Yeah, no, it's been a while since they've
Yeah.
been down double digits
Yeah.
for sure. But we'll see. They seem to be right now the second best team in FCS, and I don't know that they're that far behind. I think that they're getting better.
Yeah.
It would appear. I didn't see anything but a couple of highlights from the Youngstown State game, so I can't speak definitively on it. But their offense seems to be coming around a little bit, which was the issue early in the year. And so if North Dakota State can get by this week, they'll go down to Terre Haute, and they'll win that game by a lot, and then it'll set up the big 1 versus 2 showdown if NDSU gets through this week. If they don't, then it's wide open,
Yeah.
and everybody's in there, including, by the way, if Southern Illinois wins on Saturday, UND is in the mix.
Correct.
Then too.
Yep.
I think they're pretty good.
That's right. I wanted to go there next with their game with Youngstown State, because that's a game last year UND lost in overtime. Again, I know it was on the road, and they're a different team at home, but them winning on the road last week is a thing, isn't it?
I don't think winning that game on the road.
Not beating Northern
against Northern
Iowa.
Iowa. I think what people have to flush last year when you're talking about UND, it's a different coaching
All
staff.
of it is different.
Everything
Yeah.
is different.
Yep.
They have a lot of the same players, but I think even those players are much improved with what they're trying to do up there. I think the head coach has just brought, and Tim Paulsek has said this publicly, there's just a whole new energy and spirit about that program now under Eric Schmidt, and they found a quarterback, I think a true, legit FCS quarterback.
Paulsek was talking glowing about him yesterday at the press conference on Jerry Kaminsky.
Yeah, and it's been a long time since they've had, I don't know if they've ever had Keaton Studsrud maybe
in the Division I era
was okay, but he wasn't like an All-American guy.
He was okay, he wasn't that big of a guy.
The other guys they've had have just been they've been okay, but and I think this kid is pretty darn good. He's shown it so far, and goes back to the question I've asked all season: is like, where was he a year ago? Why was he not playing a year ago? Is he that much better this year than he was last? Maybe he is. I don't know.
One quick word, because I believe you got this out of when we were in Normal last week. Illinois State is busing to Murray on Saturday night. I believe it's a 5.5-hour bus ride out of Normal to Murray for that game, and it's a night game.
Yes.
And then coming back after the football game on Saturday.
Illinois State buses for several games actually, and so when you talk about schools like North Dakota State and South Dakota State, they obviously NDSU buses to Grand Forks, they'll bus to Brookings, they'll bus to Vermilion.
That's it.
And that's it. They're flying every place. They're not taking a bus 5.5 hours one way. They're just not doing it. And Craig Bohl made sure of that when he was the head coach. He said, if we're going to be this Division I program, let's act like we're Division I. And that's sort of there's some financial limitations on other schools in FCS that North Dakota State just doesn't have. And others, a handful of other schools don't have it either. And they're the ones that are always at the top of the division.
And that's
funny how that works.
I'm interested in Illinois State the rest of the way. That could be a team that wins 8 games, and the Bison beat them by 17. Again, they're not a bad team. I'm just curious to see how the rest of the way it goes for them.
Yeah, me too. It's curious. Brock Spack said as well yesterday that, my players after the game said we want to see those guys again down the road. Well, okay. But,
careful what you wish for on that
right.
one,
if you're going to, and that's, you have to say that, and they mean it probably. They're
I'm sure
competitors.
they do.
They're athletes. But by the time December rolls around, the game would likely be here,
Correct.
and teams are a lot different in mid to late December than they are in early October.
We got a big week of Bison athletics on TV for you starting tomorrow night. We got North Dakota State volleyball as they'll take on Oral Roberts at 7 o'clock on Extra. Then don't forget, of course, we got the football game. Yes, it is on WDAY this week with Bison game day at 10 a.m. live from the Dome. The game at 2:20 we hit the air. Kickoff just after 2:30 between Southern Illinois and North Dakota State. The Bison have never lost to the Salukis inside the Fargo Dome. Should make for a dynamite game coming up on Saturday. Thanks so much for watching this week's edition of the Bison Media Zone on WDAY Extra. For Mike McFeely, I'm Dom Izzo. We'll see everybody next Wednesday here on Extra.